Steam emanated from the hot, wet pavement, reflecting the flashing neon sign, which featured a glowing bright red cat, yellow bags of gold coins, and letters either side of it which read Fantan in Mandarin, and which announced the presence of the infamous Lucky Cat Fantan House Casino in downtown Macau. Chinese gamblers entered the oppressive heat of the casino, still pulsing from the day's barrage of intense heat. They largely wore Western-style dress, with the men sporting modern white dinner suits with red cummerbunds, and the women dressed in high heels and sophisticated gowns. There were excited yells from people playing on the newly imported Operator Bell slot machines near the entrance, as they struggled to capture their winnings, bouncing out of sight and rolling into the milling crowds entering the casino. The two plain-clothed Chinese security guards looked hard and muscly, with sweat shining off their bald heads. Their white tuxedos unsuccessfully hid the guns they were trying to conceal just underneath each left armpit. I walked in unimpeded by the strange duo, but was aware of their looks as the only white face in the crowd and the only one wearing a black tuxedo. I walked down the stairs to the strains of the Hoagy Carmichael classic Georgia on My Mind, performed by a Hong Kong sextet and an attractive and talented Chinese girl singer. The gaming tables were spread out across the large casino, surrounded by eager gamblers and a halo of cigarette smoke. It was 11:15 p.m., and there was already a nervous energy in the room, and the background noise was palpable in its sense of excitement and shared expectations. I moved through the crowds and walked up to the nearest crowded Fantan table and observed the betting. A square was marked in the centre of a gambling table, with the sides being marked 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the dark red baize. There were excited comments made as the banker put on the table a large handful of small white shiny beads, which he then covered with a metal bowl. Frenzied action began then, with players betting on the numbers, setting their stakes on the side of the square which bore the number selected. I noticed some players were playing on the corners, for example, between number 2 and number 3, at high stakes. When all bets were placed, the bowl was removed to the obvious excitement and chatter of the crowd, and the tan kun, or croupier, then used a small bamboo stick to remove the buttons from the heap 4 at a time, until the final batch was reached, with the potential for the winning amount to be anything from 1 to 4 buttons. There were 4 left behind this time, to a mixture of shouts of joy and excitement from the winners and moans from the losers, meaning all those who had bet on 4 were getting paid similar stacks of their bets, minus 10%, which was the house commission. A Chinese cigarette girl approached me and shouted, "Your name Melville?" Her very red lipstick was slightly smudged by perspiration. She was slim, and her breasts jutted out over the cigarette box, and continually threatened to escape from the confines of a brassiere and red satin dress. "Yes, who wants to know?" "Mad Dog McAllister," she replied, leading me away from the crowded table. "He's in the dragon room on the first floor. He wants you to meet him there at midnight," she whispered, close to my ear.